Welcome back. Australian horse racing has generated more than its share of scandal and uproar in its long and colourful history. But the storm that is brewing right now could be the biggest yet. Sometime in the next 6 weeks, the South Australian government will introduce legislation to allow bookmakers to use telephones on the state's racecourses. The TAB chiefs in other states have retaliated by threatening to black out South Australia's racing industry.
Yes, indeed. Now, if you know anything about horse racing, you'd know that telephones have always been outlawed on our racecourses to deter illegal SP bookmakers. Even so, our illegal bookies still manage to turn over hundreds of millions of untaxed dollars every year. And it's a piece of that action that South Australia is chasing. Chris Hawkins reports.
44? Yeah, Jack. 50 quid on Terranium? Well, thanks, love.
5 bob each way, new spec.
The SP bookie. 40 years ago, every country town and city pub had one. The only other place you could bet was at the track, except that you might have to fight your way past 80,000 other punters with the same idea. Then, in the 1960s, when TAB off-course betting appeared and on-course crowds began to dwindle, it was thought bookies would die a natural death. But while legal bookmakers have been fighting a losing battle against the computerised onslaught of TAB and Tote, it seems the illegal bookies have been flourishing. Today, it's estimated the modern versions of the old-time backroom bookies turn over between $1 and $4 billion a year. And it's a slice of that massive pie South Australia is after with its plans to give telephones to bookmakers.
We will attempt to bring into South Australia a flood of interstate and indeed international money if the appropriate credit arrangements are made, but that's a matter between the bookmaker and his client. We're probably prepared to put up a 008 number, which will expedite phone calls into the place. We believe that by making our bookmakers stronger here, we could establish something very special in South Australia, a mecca of bookmaker betting, such as we see traditionally in Darwin, for example. And by making the bookmakers stronger, it will naturally make our tote stronger as well.
Well, that's one South Australian bookmaker who's $20 richer, and if you listen to the bookies, every little bit is helping to keep them alive these days. Last year here in South Australia, the bookies turned over just $115 million. That's half what they used to turn over 5 years ago. The question is, will telephone betting help solve their problems? And more importantly, at what cost to the racing industry at large?
Actually, we're the only ones out of step. The rest of Australia is very horrified by it. And the thinking people in the industry that are not politically motivated at all, like myself, can't understand it. It's beyond comprehension.
As Deputy Chairman of the South Australian TAB, it's not surprising that former champion trainer Colin Hayes is outraged by the plan. He says the $500 million spent on South Australian TAB every year and the other $6.5 billion gambled at TABs in other states is the lifeblood of the racing industry. And for any government to allow phone-equipped bookmakers to siphon some of that off just doesn't make sense.
First of all on-course tote money returns 8%. All off-course tote money returns 4%. Bookies return 1%. How's the government going to get rich? They're just going to create problems and jeopardise the future of the industry.
This is specifically not geared to TAB punters. The minimum bet's $250. You have to establish credit with the bookmaker. And the average bet on the TAB is nothing like $250. You know, the average bet on the TAB here, I don't know the up-to-date figures, but it wouldn't be $20.
So we're talking big punters, so that's the market?
Yes, we're looking for the person who is not going to the races or who cannot go to the races on a particular day, who still wants to have a bet and who's not betting with the TAB.
There is no avenue for abuse, as you see it?
There won't be here, no. It's all calls are going to be taped, and if anyone transgresses, the penalties are draconian, or they're going to be.
Well, this is still the bookies. That's where that is there.
On the second floor of the grandstand here at Morphettville Racecourse, the Jockey Club and its architects are finalising plans for a $100,000 betting auditorium to be completed in time for the Adelaide Cup Carnival in May. It will operate regardless of whether there's a race meeting here at the track, and it will feature poker machines, tote betting and bookies equipped with telephones. That's because the bookies threatened to boycott the new auditorium unless they got them. And now they do have them, bookmakers in other states, needless to say, are anxious to dial up a deal of their own.
Obviously, we need to improve our market, and we're targeting a market which is out there. The Criminal Justice Commission in Queensland has just said there's $4 billion bet annually in SP, which means there's probably somewhere in 1.2 billion here in New South Wales. That's the market we're after. We must have some alternative to raise our turnover, and this is the logical one. As I see it, it's the only one.
It's not a matter of saying that because there are fewer people here and there's less turnover, therefore the telephones will save the bookmakers. I don't agree with that at all. I must say this, however, that we are going to monitor the situation closely, and we'll see what happens in Adelaide. And we haven't got a closed mind on the issue, but at this stage, we can't see any advantage in the introduction of telephone betting for bookmakers at this stage.
Now I can see provincial clubs, country clubs struggling because they depend so much on on-course tote turnover and also their profit out of the TAB. Now, if those two avenues are going to start to be trimmed, there's no way stake money in South Australia, which is the lowest in the country at the moment, will ever be able to climb up to be a competitive level. And when you have that, you have more owners dropping out of the game, you'll have the breeding industry affected by it, and I think it's a tragedy that this has happened.
If you feel that the bookmakers, by getting telephones to the bookmakers, we are going to create new money, then it will be successful. If, as my colleagues believe, it will merely dilute the telephone betting with the TAB, thereby giving us a 3% less margin, then it will be disastrous. But against that, if we sit on our hands in this industry and do nothing, well, is that a greater sin than trying something and admitting something if you're wrong? I believe that we should be trying to do the latter, trying to show this industry that we are prepared to have a go, and if it means the survival of bookmakers, well, it will be well spent.
Cops!
Oh.
Everybody on the outside, far range, Turkestan, and further out is Grenoble putting in a run. It's the Yodrick getting to the lead from Turkestan. Teranian is running on well, and here's Grenoble. Grenoble on the outside, grabs the lead, and Grenoble wins.
Oh, hello, Frank.
Any in front, Norm?
Frank, you know I'm not in the game anymore, son.
I finally found these betting slips. You can't win them all, Norm.
That's racing.
Sure is. The state's racing ministers meet in Adelaide on Friday, where this hot issue is certain to be high on the agenda.
Yeah, a lot more to come on that. Ahead on the show, we meet a rare human with the incredible gift of horse sense. And next, the magic of motor racing returns to Albert Park. We'll be right back.
Moss comes round on his winning lap and goes down to receive the checkered flag, having won the 1958 Melbourne Grand Prix at an average speed of 98.86 miles an hour.
Put your stick down, put your stick down. See, he's trying. Look, he's trying his guts out. Why would we ever hit a horse that's trying his guts out? Now back him up.